All right. So welcome everyone. My name is Dominic Frongillo with Elected Officials to Protect America. And Elected Officials to Protect America is a network of state and local elected officials across the country committed to protecting our lands, our waters, our democracy while ensuring environmental justice and solving the climate crisis. Our core principles are public stewardship. We believe that elected officials are entrusted to steward our democracy, our lands, our communities, and the future. Courageous leadership, that when crises like environmental injustice, like the climate emergency come along, that it's up to us as elected officials to step up and lead, and especially when it's windy. And lastly, public stewardship, collective power, that when we join together, such as when it's windy, we have the power to create political tipping points to turn the tide to protect the people that we are entrusted to serve. And that's why we're here today. My name is Dominic Frongillo. I'm a former council member in Caroline, New York, where we worked to organize 1,000 elected officials, bipartisan, from every single county in the state to protect our state from fracking and ensure the nation's, some of the nation's most advanced climate laws. And here in New Jersey, we've seen New Jersey emerge as a national leader on the climate crisis as well. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is New Jersey's leadership on clean vehicles and on offshore wind. So we're really excited for an incredible lineup of elected officials. And as we're thinking about electric vehicles, we see that this is not just state policy. We also need to push and work with our federal government to as strong as policies as possible, which we've seen through the Inflation Reduction Act, historic climate investments, and also the EPA's federal clean car standards, which we know are the bridge on the road to electrification and electric vehicles. So we're so excited today to welcome our first speaker for today. Our first speaker is Senator Patrick Diegnan from District 18. Senator.
I know you hear this all the time, but in this particular case, it's the truth. This is important stuff. And this is not political. This is bipartisan. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. We have to make our planet safe. We have to make our planet safe, not only for today, but for our children. And this is an essential element of that process. I'm looking up and down the street. What I find to be most rewarding is how many choices there are. So many folks think that they're limited in what they can do when it comes to electric vehicles. That, in fact, is not the truth. Depending on your income, there is a vehicle for you. Depending on the needs of your family, there is a vehicle for you. We in the state of New Jersey and our governor, I have to give
So can we connect this to connect into your phone. We need to enable audio. Okay. Now, can you go to the now we need to join audio. Can you hear us okay? Can you hear us okay?
Yes, please proceed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we hear yes? We're good?
Thank you to elected officials for inviting me, organizing it. And you know, one thing I couldn't be more proud of is giving space to the people and express how important climate change has made us more conscious and dangerous than we are doing. When we look at everybody, take a look up and down the street, like the senator said, you will see the amount of cars that are here, the choices that we have. You know, what we want to drive people. Making sure people are able to drive, but more importantly, providing a clean environment and providing an environment that we deserve and that we do not have to worry about for our future kids. You know, it is extremely important, like the senator said, is that the Senate as well as the Assembly can be a part of legislation that has been very supportive and making sure that we have those access to choice vehicles, but more importantly, affordability. Affordability is huge, and as we start seeing this particular industry start growing and becoming more accessible, you're going to start seeing more affordability. Pretty soon, we're all going to be about electric vehicles. But as we continue making headways into this field, we have to assure that everyone has the ability to, one, understand what you're buying. Two is also making sure that when we are out here, making sure our EV vehicles work for us, we have to make sure also our wind solar is around as well. Wind and solar, renewable energy, to assure that we have the power and electricity to continue making it work. So with that, I cannot be more proud to stand here before you along with our administration, as well as the Senate and the Assembly, to tell you that we are totally embracing what EV does for us about climate change to ensure that we protect our communities and also protect our future for our kids. Thank you so very much, and it was a pleasure being with you.
I'm going to switch off. You hope it's working.
Well, thank you, Dominic, and thank you for the bringing the elected officials to protect America and their electric vehicle demonstration here to the state's capital, Trenton. In many neighborhoods, including right here in Trenton, families are suffering from higher rates of asthma and heart disease and other health issues directly linked to air pollution. The transition to electric vehicles offers a lifeline, significantly reducing the pollutants that compromise the air we breathe and the health of our children. Every electric vehicle on our streets means a cleaner air and healthier communities. And right here you see the choices that consumers can make to get us to the goal of reducing the carbon in our air. Trenton just tested positive for lead in the soil, and a lot of it is from the air pollutants from the cars and from the gas. And we need to reduce that for our future and for our city's future. So I congratulate you for bringing the whole demonstration project down here to the capital city. We hope you will make the choice for an electric vehicle. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. So our next speaker is Council Vice President Kaleem Shabazz. from Atlantic City.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here today with my elected colleagues. And as the mayor said, in cities, we are critically aware of climate change and how it impacts our constituents. Today's press conference is an important activity, and I salute the elected officials to protect America for calling us together. Aging infrastructure, lack of trees in some instances, and some disparities have a tremendous impact on people of color, especially those who are in urban areas. As we saw from COVID-19, when there are national things that impact the country, people who are underserved, people who are under-resourced, people who are in urban areas are affected in a disproportionate manner. In Atlantic City, as we speak right now, the city council and the mayor, we are engaged in a cooperative, comprehensive effort to speak to climate change and to address areas of inequality. As we speak now, we are revamping our parking lot to have EV chargers. We purchased electric vehicles for our city fleet. We are working in conjunction with city government to do an audit on energy buildings in our city. We are raising the issue of climate change in community settings, and we are conducting an upgrade in energy audits in every city building, and we're working on resiliency. As we get closer to an election, as the senator said, climate change is a bipartisan issue, but elections are something that people pay attention to, and it's our job as elected officials to make sure that we raise the issue of climate change, and in conjunction with that, it's important that we raise the issue of the disparity of the impact of climate change on people of color, on people who are under-resourced, and on people who are living in our urban areas. And that's what we pledge to do as elected officials. That's my charge, and I'm sure my colleagues agree with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Council President Shabazz. And next we have Pam Frank from ChargEVC.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So great to be here. I'm wearing my time turner today. For those of you that are Harry Potter fans, thank you very much, Cassandra. For those of you that are Harry Potter fans, you will appreciate that reference. I want to just turn back time. So I was in the solar industry for 10 years, a while back when we only had 11 solar systems in the entire state of New Jersey, right? Similarly, in 2014 or 2015, we didn't have a lot of EVs. We had under 10,000, and we did events like this, and there were maybe 3 cars, my Bolt being one of them. That's at the end of the street. That's now old technology. So we are clearly living through a time of rapid change, and it's really, really exciting. Because these cars, and it's not, you can't think of them only as cars. They are these machines that are going to make things better for all of us, not just in terms of the air we breathe, that's been spoken about, but also the cost to move around from place to place and the ability to move around from place to place. That is all going to get better with an electric transportation future. We depend on so many of our partners that are here today, our elected officials, folks that are working in the administration, others in the not-for-profit community and business community, to make this transition as quickly as we can and with the most benefits for the most people. Now, I have 2 quick props to share. I want to just give a little bit of perspective on where we've been. So ChargEVC, which is a group that I lead, is in the business of trying to accelerate the transition to electric transportation. We do a lot of forecast and analytical work. One thing we're getting ready to release is a new forecast later this month. And we've been pretty on the money so far. I don't want to like toot our horn here, but we've been pretty good at predictions. It's not easy to do because there's a lot of moving parts to this market. But here's where we've been. Here's what historical sales have looked like. And you'll see that we've got close to 160,000 things on wheels that plug in today. Most of that is the light duty vehicles, and this red is a growing fraction of medium and heavy duty vehicles, which is over here. The other thing I want to point out is where we think we're heading. So this is a forecast that shows you under a couple of different adoption scenarios where we think the state is heading. I don't have to go into great detail this now, but happy to talk about it in depth later with anyone who is interested. But let's keep our eye on the ball. In New Jersey, we signed up to get 330,000 light duty vehicles on our road by 2025, and they laughed at us when we first put that number out. And we are within reach of that goal, but we have to move aggressively and we have to move in a coordinated fashion. We've got the big three that we have to tackle. It's been true since day one: affordability, range anxiety, which is the fear of running out of charge, and many more charging stations going up today, and it's making that a lot easier for folks. And the last is education. But overlapped on that, which is something that's really started to take a lot of time for folks like us that think about these markets, is the whole idea of grid readiness. And we're going to have to start paying a lot more attention to grid readiness, to be proactive, to change some things about how we've regulated electricity for 100+ years. So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you so much to the elected officials to Protect America for putting this on, and I'll hand the mic over.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Pam. You got that family. So next we have Kate Kruk, who's a former vice president of the school board of Schalmont Central School District and the partnership and engagement director for Livingston Energy Group.
Thank you so much, Dominic. As Dominic said, my name is Kate Kruk, and I am a retired school board member after 6 years in service. I am a mom in a kinship family with 3 boys, 3 growing boys. And I've also been an EV driver for almost a decade. I serve on the board of directors for the Electric Vehicle Association nationally. And as Dominic mentioned, I'm the partner and engagement director for Livingston Energy Group and a Lynkwell company. I get it. I wear a lot of hats. But I have one overarching theme that I'm very proud of, and it's to encourage others to adapt to change and leave things in a better place than when you left it. When it comes to EVs, I've been driving change since I bought my very first 100% electric vehicle in 2015, ironically, in the state of New Jersey. And I was breaking the stereotype at that point that EVs are not affordable. The Chevy Spark that I owned is the best car I've ever owned, and it was $15,000 with a $7,500 federal tax rebate. Like many considering the switch, I had to take a real look at the driving I did. And the reality was, it wasn't anything extreme. I had to go to work. I had to pick up my kids from school, and I had to go to appointments. I was driving maybe 40 miles a day. So in the end, a $7,500 vehicle was absolutely perfect. Did I mention I have 3 growing boys? They're not cheap. In New Jersey, the average drivers are looking at about 12,263 miles a year. That's 34 miles a day in driving. An electric vehicle is a solution. However, one barrier that I hear about, and we just heard about it here, is transitioning electric mobility, is the lack of EV infrastructure. I am proud to be working for a New York-based company that's providing solutions for infrastructure. The company is in the top 10 charge point operators in the United States, and we are providing EV charging at workplaces, at schools, communities, and fleets, all the places that support EV adoption. And we're doing this by investing in domestic solutions for EV infrastructure hardware and software. Investing in these solutions leads to job creation. Developing and manufacturing EV infrastructure domestically can create numerous jobs, and it boosts our economy. Green energy technology careers are rapidly expanding and workforce needs are increasing. Students and young people need to understand that there are good paying careers in this industry, and elected officials can support businesses who are creating products and services here in the United States. Another thing is enhanced security, something that the EOPA is supporting. Relying on domestic solutions reduces dependency on foreign suppliers and enhances our own national security. It also benefits quality control. When you have local production, it allows for better oversight and quality assurances, ensuring highest standards, which means that EV adoption can happen correctly and happen easily the first time. It's also a better of economic growth. Investing in domestic industries stimulates economic growth and innovation within our country. Something that I'm very proud of is that our company was elected to the Inc. 5000 fastest growing businesses over the past 2 years. And we are looking to expand, and many other businesses can do the same. Technological leadership is also very important. It positions our country as leaders in EV technology, fostering advancements and setting industry standards, and once again, supporting local business, encouraging domestic solutions to support local businesses and the broader supply chain within the United States. I'm proud that we have gotten our New Jersey state contract, which allows us to build infrastructure to be funding and investing those IRA dollars domestically, keeping those IRA federal funds here in the United States. So I thank the EOPA for putting this tour together. Thank you to all our leaders who continue to support EV infrastructure and the adoption of electric vehicles. It makes a lot of sense, and it makes it easier for people like myself and others like me to adopt the technology. I encourage everybody who's here to stay and learn from the EV drivers that are here, learn their experience and understand it so that we can make better decisions as leaders. So thank you very much for having me. I am so proud to be part of this tour, and we look forward to working with you all.
Thank you so much, Kate. So now we'll move to questions. We have our first question coming in from online, and the question is, how do the EPA vehicle standards that the federal government is putting out work with New Jersey and New Jersey's climate goals? The Senator, the Assembly woman, one of you want to take the question?
We are fortunate to have both a president and a governor who get it. Their goals are identical to make electric vehicles, clean energy, the future. And I know, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know the specifics, but I know that our Department of Environmental Protection and the EPA are working together on these standards.
Thank you. The next question that we have, thank you, Senator, coming in is, how are electric vehicles going to help environmental justice communities in New Jersey? Would someone like to take that?
It's one of my favorite topics. Right here in Trenton, New Jersey, and actually the mayor can probably speak about it better than me, but we have something called Go Trenton, which is an electric car share ride share that helps people get to work, to food, to recreation. It's a really interesting project, and it's addressing the needs of access. And that's actually, I think, the thing to focus on when you think, what can electric cars do for environmental justice communities? Clearly, those who want to buy cars, most of us don't buy new cars, we buy used cars. So the affordability gets easier for those communities. But the more interesting application for folks that don't even want to drive a car or don't have a place to park a car because they live in a dense urban area, are these solutions that help augment our public transit to really get people where they need to go in much less time. So I'm surprised we haven't seen a Go Trenton car pass us, but it's a very exciting solution. So it's one thing I offer as an example. You can learn more about it if you just Google Go Trenton.
A quick point on environmental justice. To the degree that we can reduce our fossil fuel footprint and clean up the air, there's a direct correlation with health, because people in underserved areas and urban areas have health issues and complications that are directly related to that.
Thank you, Council President. And Mayor, would you like to take a crack at that as well? The impact of EVs on health and the community?
Yeah, as we sit in the shadow of the State House, 20,000 state workers coming into the city every day. And most of them are driving cars. You also see buses and trucks riding by. They all deposit pollutants that come into our city. We have high incidence of asthma. We have high incidence of heart problems, and the list goes on. We even have lead in our soil, and a lot of it is from gas engines that over the years, of the last 100 years, in a manufacturing town. So we have a lot to do to make things healthier for our citizens, and by going electric and taking advantage of the choices that are out here, we can make the air much more healthier for our citizens, especially in the urban areas.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a related question, which is, okay, we're talking about electric vehicles. How are the electric vehicles going to be powered, and what is opportunities like offshore wind? How does that relate to electric vehicles?
So, yes. Excuse me. Offshore wind, you know what? One of the things about offshore wind, first of all, let's go back to how electric vehicles are charged. You see the charges all around. More and more of our places along the highways and our homes are becoming more accessible to be able to charge your vehicles. But as we start looking at wind solar, which is powered by the wind, which powers the electricity that we may be using, that would be extremely huge benefit for all of us to continue powering our vehicles, because that is what our future holds, is our offshore wind. Not only does offshore wind provide the jobs and the necessary health benefits that provide us to live not only along the shores, but in many of our communities, once we see the impact of offshore winds being able to have on our vehicles and be able to see the power that is going to generate, which will again go back to affordability. Your electric bill will be less high if you have offshore winds. So keep that in mind. And I will say this as we move forward. Back in the day when Vice President, our friend, yes, Al Gore. I was going to say Biden. I was going to say Al Gore. Thank you. Al Gore, he had that whole tour, The Unawful Truth. Because you know what? He was right on the money. We waited a little too long to start addressing these issues. Now we have to double up. We have to make sure these issues, offshore wind, solar, and EV charging, is huge. And we have to make sure it continues keeping us thriving.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. And that speaks as well to the disinformation that the fossil fuel industry is putting out as well. We know they've documented at least $16 million from the fossil fuel industry has gone into disinformation campaigns, front groups, AstroTurf groups, to derail offshore wind and other clean energy solutions in New Jersey and around the Northeast. Do we have any members of the press in person to ask a question as well? We have a wireless mic. Not, we'll continue taking questions from online. The next question online is, can we afford electric vehicles? Can the average worker afford electric vehicles? How expensive are they?
So speaking from my Electric Vehicle Association hat, yes, we can absolutely afford vehicles. My own personal experience will show you that you can find these vehicles. So right now there is a federal tax credit that is out there for certain used electric vehicles. So any electric vehicle that there's certain regulations behind it, but long and short is there's $4,000 of a tax rebate for any used electric vehicle. And then there's still the $7,500 federal tax rebate for electric vehicles that are under that $80,000 price point, but also have additional criteria, including making sure that the production of the vehicle itself is a U.S.-based company, as well as the mix of minerals in the battery. So the federal government has made choices that says you have to purchase a U.S. vehicle, as well as making sure that we're using the right resources in the battery mix. So those are great ways to reduce the cost of a used or new vehicle And as we mentioned several times here, just what we can see today, there is a variety in the mix. And we have to urge our OEMs to create vehicles that are more affordable. But used cars and new cars are, a lot of things are expensive right now, but we are doing our best to make sure that there are options for everybody.
I do. I want to give a hot New Jersey minute. So here in New Jersey, vehicle affordability has been top of mind, and we have a rebate program that provides up to $4,000 off the purchase of a new EV, more affordable EV. They have to be under $55,000. We need that fund properly resourced, right? Every year we need to sell more and more in these. And by the way, those vehicles find themselves into the secondary market, into the used car market, which are much more affordable for many more people. But the problem is that program opens in July and it typically closes in October and November because they ran out of money. Now, we don't think we're going to be able to rebate, nor should we, every vehicle that gets purchased or leased in the state of New Jersey, but we have to do more than we're doing today. So I'm making a little plug on that. The other thing I'm making a plug on, and yes, that is a purposeful pun, is the idea that we don't apply sales tax to these cars in New Jersey, which is a huge benefit for anyone who wants to buy an electric vehicle today. Our governor announced several months ago that he wanted to end that and do it in a phased out way. And we have some proposals about that would help drive some of that revenue that gets collected from taxing specific, more luxury brand EVs into the fund that helps provide rebates for the more affordable EVs. Doesn't that make a lot of sense?
Thank you, Kaleem, and for the hot New Jersey minute. Great. So the next question is coming in from online is, won't the EPA federal clean vehicle standards and transitioning to electric vehicles cost people their jobs? That's a myth that's out there. Would someone like to respond to that?
First of all, I do not think the new standards are going to cost anyone's jobs. I think if anything, it may add to our workforce. I think working in the state on EVs and all of the climate change and the things that we need to do here, we're only enhancing those EPA regulations. I do believe that we're going to see more and more of our cars becoming EVs, and the population is going to be working. And I have no doubt as the new infrastructure comes upon board here in New Jersey to allow for EV vehicles, we're going to see more and more jobs, because that's what it's about, right? We have an infrastructure that has to be built to accommodate all of the cars that we need to do. If we are to reach the goals that are set by President Biden as well as our governor, our infrastructure needs to be first and most priority to ensure that all vehicles on this road is accessible and no one is going to lose their job. Can't say which company is going to have the highest sales. That's up to you guys to decide which one you like better. But I could tell you this only adds to our workforce. Thank you.
Amazing. Before we close out, any of our speakers want to take a last word? Oh, we have a question.
What's the timeline for? What's the timeline for getting publicly accessible charging stations in urban areas in New Jersey? That's one of the barriers for getting an electric vehicle living in Jersey City.
Great, wonderful question. The question was, what is the timeline for getting publicly accessible charging stations in communities across New Jersey? Because that's one of the biggest barriers to adoption of electric vehicles in New Jersey.
One, there's a charging station right here in the garage for state workers, but the city has actually received grant money, and we're in the process of planning and implementing putting charging stations throughout the city. But cities are taking advantage of the grant money, and we're in the process of implementing that right now.
I got to add my hot New Jersey minute again. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be doing my job. So New Jersey has $105 million of NEVI funding to help put public chargers and chargers in EJ types of communities. And we haven't gotten our money on the street yet. We are one of the last states to do that. And I was hoping that we'd be able to announce something today, but we're still waiting So I just want to say that to anyone who's listening, we really need to get that money out. But there's also a lot of programs that have been running in the state that are putting those charging infrastructure stations in more densely populated areas. But NEVI is a really important component of that, and it's the federal government helping us. So let's get that money and let's get those jobs done pronto.
In Atlantic City, we are, as I said in my remarks, we are putting up EV stations. It's going to be in our public accessible City Hall parking lot, and we're receiving people who want to do public accessible EV lots across the city, which we're going to look at. And finally, our grants officer is looking for grant money to access that. So we are actively in the process as we speak, adding to our stock of EV chargers.
Wonderful, great. Any last questions from members of the press? And any member of our speakers want to take the last minute? If not, we will close. Before we do, we would love to invite afterwards all of our speakers to see Lauren right there for your post press conference interview. And then, of course, immediately get into the EVs because this is an experiential learning experience. So just to close the press conference, thank you so much again to all of our speakers for participating, and to members of the press and all of our partners. This is part of our Elected Officials to Protect America EV tour, our United for Health and Energy Security tour. We're heading all throughout the East Coast, all the way from New York, all the way down to Georgia, to highlight the benefits of electric vehicles for our communities, for our taxpayers, for our climate, for our future and our energy security and our health, and to also offshore wind, because we need to power the electric vehicles, and how offshore wind can power the U.S. twice over with electricity, and also how the historic investments from the Inflation Reduction Act are helping lift communities out of poverty, improve our health, and improving our energy security, and how the EPA's clean vehicle standards are helping the U.S. transition on the road from the current vehicle stock to electric vehicles, a critical path in that transition. So I'd like to thank our tour sponsors, Environmental Defense Fund, PSE&G, Zeem, Lynkwell, and all of our tour partners who are out here today. We couldn't have done this without you, so we're so grateful to each of you. And with that, we'd like to close our press conference and welcome everyone to experience the vehicles. Thank you so much.